Number 8. Billy Collins Jr. Light middleweight prospect Billy Collins Jr. was at the center of one of boxing's most notorious and tragic scandals. In June of 1983, the undefeated Collins stepped into the ring with Luis Resto at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The fight went the distance and Resto won by unanimous decision. Collins had sustained severe injuries in the bout as both his eyes had been swollen shut. He was unable to box again due to a torn iris, which left his vision permanently blurred. He was physically and emotionally broken by the loss of his livelihood and died in a car crash a little over a year after the fight. After the decision, Collins' father, who was also his trainer, went to shake Resto's hands. He noticed that his gloves felt light and demanded that they be withheld.
The decision was unanimous in favor of Luis Resto, but shortly after the fight, Collins' handlers charged that Resto's gloves had been tampered with, that some of the required padding had been secretly and illegally removed, adding extra impact to Resto's punches. The New York State Athletic Commission apparently was suspicious, and they impounded Luis Resto's glove.
An investigation would later reveal that Resto's trainer, Panama Lewis, had taken out an ounce of padding from each glove. Both Lewis and Resto were charged with assault. Resto would spend over 2.5 years in prison, while for nearly 25 years he denied having had knowledge of the tampered gloves. Resto confessed that he'd gone along with his trainer's plan. Moreover, he revealed that Lewis had soaked his hand wraps in plaster of Paris. This caused them to harden, similar to casts used to mend broken bones. The combination of removed padding and hardened wraps meant that for 10 rounds, Resto had basically hit Collins in the face with rock-hard hands. Number 7. Frankie Campbell. Max Baer is remembered as one of the hardest punchers in boxing history. Several years before he captured the heavyweight title, Baer fought Frankie Campbell on August the 25th of 1930 in San Francisco. Campbell caught Baer in the second round, causing him to fall to the canvas. Campbell thought that Baer would be getting a 10 count, so he turned and started walking towards his corner, waving to the crowd. However, the referee had considered a fall as a slip, not a knockdown, and motioned to Baer to get back up. Enraged, Baer unleashed a devastating right hand, which caught Campbell on the chin. He followed it up with a few more punches before the round was over. As he walked back to his corner, Campbell told one of his trainers, "Something feels as though it broke in my head." He fought through the next few rounds, but a relentless barrage of strikes from Baer dropped him to the canvas in the 5th round. He'd actually gone unconscious on his feet and was only held up by the ropes. Doctors attempted to revive him both in the ring and at the hospital, but he ultimately succumbed to a severe brain concussion. Doctors ruled that Baer's blows had knocked Campbell's brain completely loose from the connective tissue in his skull. Those close to Baer claimed that while he maintained an indestructible public persona, he'd privately been deeply affected by the outcome of the Campbell fight. Number 6. Edward Ives. In 2013, former boxing champion Edward Ives beat a man to death in a kebab shop in Dartford, England. 30-year-old Ben Mahoney and a friend were waiting for their order when Ives stormed in. Mahoney confronted Ives over his behavior towards the takeaway staff. He then threw a punch at him. Ives had been released on probation only a few weeks prior, after serving time for witness intimidation. The 29-year-old had 23 prior convictions, many relating to violence. Ives repeatedly struck Mahoney with such force that he'd essentially left him dead on his feet. His head violently jerked back, causing a fatal artery rupture in his neck. As Mahoney was convulsing on the floor, Ives demanded payment from staff for a stain on his sleeve that he'd sustained in the altercation, threatening to kill everyone inside. The terrified workers gave him £30 in addition to a refund on his order. Ives was arrested roughly 2 hours later, when officers found him hiding under a child's bed. He was subsequently sentenced to 8 years in prison. Number 5. Viviane OBENAUF. In December of 2020, a former professional boxer was arrested on suspicion of beating her husband to death. Brazilian-born Viviane OBENAUF captured the World Boxing Federation lightweight title and challenged for championship belts in other organizations 3 more times from 2017 to 2019. After her latest loss, OBENAUF retired from the sport. She briefly worked in the gastronomy industry before opening her own gym in Switzerland. In January of 2020, she married Thomas, a 61-year-old wealthy Swiss hotelier. They lived together in the town of Interlaken and would upload pictures of themselves as a loving family to their social media. While they appeared to be happy, OBENAUF was known to violently lose her temper. A few years prior, she'd been arrested for punching a man who'd reportedly groped her at a London nightclub. On October the 19th, less than a year into her marriage to Thomas, the man was found dead in the apartment they shared. It was reported that he died following a sustained violent assault with a blunt object. While her motives remained to be determined, OBENAUF was arrested as the main suspect in the killing. Number 4. James Butler. Super middleweight boxer James Butler rose to prominence in the late 1990s. He became champion but lost the IBF belt via a unanimous decision in 2001. That same year, Butler would become infamous for one of the most despicable sucker punches in boxing history. On November the 23rd, he fought Richard Grant in a charity event at the Roseland Ballroom in New York City. It was a rematch, with the first 4-round confrontation having ended in Grant's unanimous decision victory. Even though Butler was a heavy favorite, he would again lose the decision. Shortly after the referee raised his hand, Grant reached out to Butler for an expected exchange of congratulations. The latter's hands were still wrapped, but he'd had his gloves removed by that point. As soon as Grant was within range, Butler sucker punched him with a devastating right hook. Grant suffered a dislocated jaw and severe lacerations to his tongue, which required 26 stitches. Butler was charged with assault in the second degree and spent 4 months in prison. Upon his release, he fruitlessly struggled to revive his boxing career. In October of 2004, he was living with longtime friend Sam Kellerman, brother of sports analyst Max Kellerman, at his Hollywood apartment. On October the 12th, Kellerman was killed inside his home, and the place was torched. Butler, the only suspect in the case, was arrested. It's believed that he'd gotten into an argument with Kellerman, who'd asked him to move out. Butler repeatedly struck him in the head with a hammer, then burned down the apartment to cover up the murder. He eventually pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and arson, for which he was sentenced to 29 years in prison. Number 3. ELENA POVELYAIKINA. In 2020, a young woman was sentenced to 13 years in prison after killing 2 men in the Russian town of Mikhailovka. After graduating college, 22-year-old ELENA POVELYAIKINA returned to help on her family's farm. POVELYAIKINA was a skilled boxer who, in spite of her small stature, was described as extremely strong. According to a Russian media outlet, she was known to draw art depicting humans with severed limbs, which worried other townspeople. Her first victim was an unnamed 37-year-old man who was drunk and reportedly refused to leave her family's home. After POVELYAIKINA mercilessly beat him, she used a shovel handle to inflict severe injuries to his intimate parts. Once the man was dead, POVELYAIKINA threw him over a fence and into the street. It was only after a second incident, which took place a few months later, that she was tied to the killing. The young woman was drinking with some locals when one of them, identified as 31-year-old Ivan, made unflattering comments about her gun-toting father, Pyotr. She jumped on him as he was sitting on a sofa and started to viciously punch and kick him. After the attack, witnesses didn't call for an ambulance, believing Ivan would recover, but the man succumbed to his extensive injuries the following day. POVELYAIKINA was arrested and, according to the police, she'd initially confessed to both killings but later refused to testify. A series of psychiatric examinations determined that she was fit to stand trial, and the woman was eventually convicted for her crimes. Today's topic was requested by Instagram followers Sam McFadden, Pinder Crystal, and Quasar Morris. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below, or follow us on Instagram and reach out to us there. Number 2. Benny Paret. In the early 1960s, a trilogy fight between Benny Paret and Emil Griffith ended in tragedy. In their previous fights for the welterweight belt, Paret had been knocked out, but then regained his title via split decision. A third fight was set for March the 24th of 1962 at Madison Square Garden, with the event being televised live on ABC. Griffith was saved by the bell in the 6th round, after Paret nearly dropped him with a successful combination. In the 12th round, Griffith backed him into the corner and unleashed a devastating flurry of punches. It was clear that Paret was unable to defend himself after the first few blows, but the referee didn't stop the fight. He finally intervened after Paret had sustained 29 consecutive punches to the head. He passed out in the corner and then fell into a coma. 10 days later, he was pronounced dead at a Manhattan hospital. The referee was subsequently criticized for not stepping in sooner. The New York boxing authorities also came under scrutiny for clearing Paret to fight, even though he'd sustained beatings in his previous 3 fights, all of which had occurred within the span of 12 months. Number 1. Dwight Ritchie. On November the 9th of 2019, Australian boxing champion Dwight Ritchie died following a freak training accident. He was sparring with fellow Australian middleweight Michael Zerafa for the latter's upcoming title rematch. Ritchie, who'd only lost twice in his 21-fight career, took a body shot from Zerafa during the 6th round of sparring. Zerafa told a media outlet that the blow had caught him on the left side, but that it was nothing out of the ordinary. 27-year-old Ritchie collapsed while holding his chest, and paramedics would pronounce him dead in the ring. He'd beaten cancer as a child, but recent medical checks didn't indicate he'd suffered from any health problems. Thanks for watching. Would you rather take a punch to the stomach from a heavyweight boxing champion or get kicked by a racehorse in the same spot? Let us know in the comments section below.